so I'm just going to do a quick Rogue One review. Rogue One was a pretty good movie that unfortunately just didn't quite hit all the right notes for me. I think that it got off to kind of a rocky start. You're just jumping between so many different locations, timelines, different characters. It never really stops to kind of introduce you thoroughly to this new cast and this new story. It just kind of rushes forward, and so for the first part of the movie, it was just hard to follow everything that was going on. I mean, you could follow it, but you didn't follow it in a way that was pleasant. You know, in a lot of the Star Wars movies, the good Star Wars movies, the original trilogy and the Force Awakens, the opening act is sort of given its own place. So in The Empire Strikes Back, you have Hoth, and you're able to sort of immerse yourself in this frozen world with the ice monster and, you know, the invasion, the Imperial invasion, and that whole battle scene. And it's kind of this long extended scene. And again, in Return of the Jedi, it's the same thing. When you're on Tatooine, and Jabba the Hutt has, you know, captured Han Solo, and there's this long escape sequence and a fight, and it's fun because you get these long memorable moments. Now you get that to some degree at the end of Rogue One. You get that on Scarif when they're fighting to get the data for the Death Star, of course, and it's a great fight scene, but rather than an establishing scene, it's a finale. And so it's very different. I mean, I guess I would liken it more to the Ewoks in the Battle of Endor, that scene in Return of the Jedi, although it's much more harrowing. And really, for me, I think the second half of Rogue One was so much better than the first half, but also sort of bittersweet because you lose all these characters and it's sad. But I feel like the second half gave us that one location and that one long battle where we really got to see more of what was going on and sort of get into that place. But even then, I just don't think it lived up to kind of how well established Endor was in Jedi or Cloud City, even in Empire Strikes Back. So really for me, I think it was a pacing issue. None of the characters got to develop as much as I'd like them to. There were some great characters. Chiro Imwe was fantastic. Baze, K2SO was hilarious, and I liked seeing one of the droids actually not only have a acerbic sense of humor, but also you know, be able to fight really, really well, and it was sad to see him go down. So I loved the supporting cast. I was a lot less fond of Jyn Erso and Cassian Andor. I thought they were good characters, but they just weren't a lot going on with them. You know, there wasn't great chemistry between them. There was kind of a confusing relationship, honestly. He was going to kill her dad, and then she's just kind of cool with him after that. And it feels like they just cut whole scenes of character development. I mean, just compare that to the relationship between Han Solo and Princess Leia, where, you know, they're on the same side and they're working together, but they're at each other's throats for 2 whole movies, basically, before finally the romance kindles or whatever. In this, you know, Jyn has a way bigger reason to dislike Cassian, but they kind of just are cool with each other. I don't know. It didn't quite click for me, and that, for me, the core of Star Wars movies is the characters, which is, you know, I guess with Rogue One, my biggest complaint and my favorite thing about it, because the supporting cast was so good. So pacing, kind of fumbling first act, these were my problems with Rogue One. I didn't mind that it was darker. I didn't mind that it was a different style. I liked how it filled in some plot holes in A New Hope. I liked how it explained, you know, how they got the information, how there was a flaw in the Death Star to begin with. Though that makes me wonder, you know, if there was this flaw baked into the Death Star in the first movie, why was there also a flaw baked into the next Death Star and then the one in Force Awakens? Like, how are these vulnerabilities? Do we need to explain each vulnerability? I mean, I don't know. Overall, I think good movie, but both this and The Force Awakens, you know, as good as they are, I think they still fall short of like Empire and Return, and I guess, you know, maybe it's gonna be hard for these new filmmakers, the Disney's crop of filmmakers, to ever compare with those movies because they're just such classics. But I think they could. You know, I think The Force Awakens captured that Star Wars feel really well, and I think that if it had a slightly less recycled plot, I think people would have liked it a lot more. I think that its fatal flaw was having another friggin' Death Star. But anyways, that's my take. Rogue One. I'm not going to give it points or stars. I think you should see it. I think it is a flawed but fun Star Wars movie. Thanks for watching.